It's just a game is one of the things we've been hearing a lot of real race drivers say, and a lot of people say, as an excuse to justify buffoonery when taking part in esports events, or just as a way to sort of denounce sim racing or just any sort of competitive game or game in general. And you know what? It's one of the dumbest things that we've been hearing recently. So I'm going to rant about it in this video and explain why it's stupid, and hopefully this video will be really cathartic for everybody. Welcome back to the Game of Muscle YouTube channel. Click that like button, subscribe if you like VR and driving simulator content. Here we are to talk about this subject at Alton Park, an absolutely fantastic circuit, not as good as Brands Hatch, but it's growing on me. And we've got the Ginetta GT4. Rev your engines, away she goes. So, it's just a game. My God, what a meaningless statement. What a meaningless thing to say. First of all, it doesn't say anything. It's just a game. It's just a game. Tennis is a game. Real world motorsport is a game. A game as a word just means it's just a selection of rules that people have agreed to follow, or that are being followed as a construct, and typically then used to create something that's enjoyable to participate in. That's all that game means. They're using it in the context of it's a video game, but I fail to see how the fact that it's a computerized thing versus a non-computerized thing makes it any more or less relevant. What's relevant in the topic of these real-world drivers doing stupid things is the fact that they're doing a stupid thing within an arranged context where they've pre-agreed to do serious racing, and in many cases they're being paid to take part. They're representing brands and sponsors, they've agreed to do something. The fact that it's a game or not is totally irrelevant. I mean, imagine like, well, you know, the stock market is a game for the most part. It's complete fiction, as any of you will that follow the economic activities will be aware. If you illegally cheat at the stock market, it's irrelevant. You're going to go to jail if you're playing poker at home with real money on a computer versus poker in a casino with real money. They're both games. They've both got consequences. It doesn't matter that it's a game. If you get your friend that's better at poker to play for you, which then gets you entry into a $1 million prize pool satellite poker tournament, you've cheated to get to win. Even if you're not doing the real world tournament, you've cheated to win prize money. You've cheated. It doesn't matter that it's virtual, digital or not. So it's a really bizarre excuse to use for these real world drivers to just come out with a statement. It's just a game. What's even more surprising, like with the app situation, who's unfortunately lost his drive with Audi, is that he doesn't need to say stuff like it's just a game. He can say, which he did in his video where he explained what he did. Basically, he misjudged the context of it. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt with what he's saying. I tend to do that with people. You know, why not? Give people the benefit of the doubt. It's better for understanding their position. It looks like he misjudged the general context of it. He thought it was more of a sort of more of a fun event, rightly or wrongly, and therefore thought it'd be more entertaining to have his friend or a friend drive for him to then make a silly video out of it. Which, you know, that obviously misjudged it, but you know, you can see how someone that's not familiar with things, and maybe it hadn't been explained clearly to him the entire context of the event. Maybe you should have done a bit more research. You can see how someone could make that mistake, and just if you've done that, making a genuine apology of it, which he sort of has done. You know, a little bit of a slap on the wrist would be. I think that's fair and not too much of a problem. I do think the being kicked out of the team, assuming he was explaining things clearly at the start, or assuming he wasn't, or you know, whatever, being kicked out of the team and the real world consequences of that really are actually sort of a little bit too harsh, it would seem. Though I'm kind of thinking maybe what it is that the sponsors or Audi were maybe looking for an excuse to replace him with someone else, and they're like, ha ha ha, we now have our excuse. It's like when a business wants to sack someone that's perfectly fine, or that they can't get rid of, then they're maybe an annoying person, they can't get rid of them, so they have to try and set a trap or make something up to actually get rid of them. I don't know. I don't know the nuances of that situation, but I'm getting a sense that maybe there's some aspect of Audi wanting to get rid of him, and that's why that result's happened. But you know, if the event was clearly explained to him, and he then did what he did, then you know, fair enough. You basically potentially cheated other people out of getting the result they wanted to get, and potentially ruined the authenticity of something. And you know, that would apply to like a real-world motorsport event. If you've agreed to go to a real-world venue with a bunch of cars, even as a group of friends, if you've all agreed that you're taking it seriously, if one of your friends decides that, oh, you know, I'm just going to mess around and ruin the race for everyone else, well, then that's ruining the fun for everybody, regardless of if there's a prize or not. So, yes. Just why say it's just a game? Just explain the actual situation clearly. Just this saying needs to go. Banish the saying. Now, I will add to this that there is a separate issue here of the fact that it does seem that a lot of real-world drivers have come into sim racing and really failed to appreciate that. Yeah, sim racing isn't real-world racing, as we established in the previous video. I would say it's more a form of gaming, especially when you get to like the esports stuff, than actual real racing. But people have invested huge amounts of time, especially like these top sim races and esports stuff. They've invested huge amounts of time, not just at getting into sim racing to get good in innate sim racing stuff with specific simulators, but even for a single event. Just the competitors. If you're doing like a hot lap competition, you're talking like 7 hours minimum, probably like 15 hours, just to get into the events and to get to get a time that gets you there. You have to put so much time into it to then have an arbitrary driver, real-world driver or not. I mean, it's worse if they've just been invited into it. Whoops. To then come in and just take the piss. It's like, well, hang on a minute. You're basically just denying the effort and time that someone's put into it. You've wasted their life. Guilty of murder. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but you know what I mean. It's like, why be so disrespectful of someone that's decided to put their time into a given activity? They could have put their, you know, it doesn't matter what the activity is. People's lifetime or time spent doing something is time spent doing something. Could be the World Tiddlywinks finals for all I care. If someone's really dedicated to it, and you know, I'm a fan of seeing the best Tiddlywinks players in the world, it will ruin everyone's enjoyment that's agreed to play along with Tiddlywinks to have someone come in and just take the piss. Especially, even more so, if that person coming in has just been invited because of the fact that they've got sort of brand power behind them and are like famous. Now, I'm not denying that there's obviously been a huge benefit to sim racing and particularly sim racing visibility by having real-world drivers come into the sim events, and the audience for those drivers, especially with the Formula 1 drivers, have those audience see sim racing, see how compelling it is, and be like, oh, you know, that actually looks like something that's really fun. So I'm not denying that it's been really great for sim racing to have the exposure from real drivers. I really appreciate that. And also, let's be aware that a lot of the real drivers, whoa! DD save, a lot of the real drivers have actually been really respectful, and weirdly, a lot of the higher up drivers have actually been more respectful than than some of the lower down drivers. You know, like a lot of the Formula 1 drivers have been really great. And I actually say, what's really become apparent is you have these, you know, like Max Verstappen, Norris, Albon. You know, they genuinely actually do sim racing and like aspects of sim racing and don't kid themselves that it's real racing. It's, you know, they're playing it for a sim, they're playing it to engage with an audience, and that's absolutely fantastic. You just have a couple of what seem to be brain dead real world drivers and sort of not really getting it, you know, and kind of ruining it for everyone. So it always is though, isn't it, guys? It's always like a minority of people ruining it for the majority of people. That's the way of the world. You just have to you kind of just have to ignore them. But I think in general, you know, like the whole I kind of move this should be a separate video, but the whole thing of like real drivers promoting sim racing and this whole thing that's happened with COVID, I think in general it's actually mostly been a positive, other than this painfully stupid saying of it's just a game. It's just a game, lol. It's just a prank. Oh, I've just dropped a piano on your head and paralysed you for life. It's just a prank, bro. It's exactly the same sort of thing. It's like, hang on. Doesn't make it okay. Oh, dear. How are we doing here? We've got 6 out of 9 laps. I'm trying to close the gap here with these last 4th out of 18. Man, I didn't even know where I was on the track. It's really weird, guys. If you do talking and driving, you kind of get lost. So I get lost in my head with the talking, and I'm just driving on autopilot. But basically, I'm like a human Tesla auto drive that occasionally glitches out and drives into the back of a lorry or the back of another vehicle. I'm going to try and catch these guys before the end of this race. We can do this. But it blows my mind with these things where it's like, I always find it strange when people are so willing to say something that's so patently stupid. Like, there's lots of things where you can apply about a minute of critical thinking to it. Well, not even that, like 5 seconds of critical thinking, you'd be like, oh, hang on a minute. What I'm saying is stupid. And it seems that there's a lot of people, when they say stuff, don't have that ability to... Like, fair enough, you might say something that having not thought about it in your head beforehand, I get that, but the moment you said it, I do this quite a lot, I say something, I'll be like, oh, that was really dumb, and then you'd correct yourself. And like, if you're doing it on a video or a public forum, you'd either, if it's a live thing, you then correct yourself immediately, or you would just retake the video. So I don't know. I think it's maybe with it's just a game thing. Someone's heard it from someone else. It seems like a reasonable thing to say because it's like, well, you know, games, and people just assume that the word game is like game just for fun. They ignore the context of it, ignore the fact that what they did real world things are games as well. I don't know. Look at this sparks, guys. We've got a soul and shader patch on here. They updated the sparks. You can see we've got bloody tyre marbles flying off the vehicles. Assetto Corsa is bloody amazing. It's like you've got all these new features coming to it all the time. And we've got one more lap here. Sorry, I stopped talking a bit there. I literally lose about 8% performance when I talk. It's like when I shut up, the turbo kicks in. Here we go. I really love doing this thing of like starting last and moving and going to first. But you know what, guys? It'd be interesting to see what you guys think. I think from talking to my subscribers and just like sim racing online, I think most sim racers agree with what I'm saying and kind of get it. It seems to be people that are outside of gaming that say this stupid, the whole it's just a game, or people that have done something stupid that say it. It's not the majority of people, but Yeah. Whoa! It's just a game, AI. It's just a game. It's just a game. Right, final lap here. We've got a game. In fact, I might actually just start saying it's just a game to justify anything. Because, I mean, life really is just a game, isn't it? It's just a game. Sorry I hit your grandma with my car. It's just a game. I know we're all going to be dead. It's just a game. Hang on, hang on, hang on. It's just a game. It's just a game. Actually worked surprisingly well. The importance of context and agreeing upon rules. Do you know what? Do you know what would be really weird? If you set rules up as to how a country should operate, and then you had like the central government completely disregard their own rules, throwing the authority and the willingness for people to sort of go along with things out the window. Imagine a legal system in developed Western countries that was largely based on how much money you had, as opposed to actual law. Oh, that would be a really dystopian and sad world to live in. But it's okay, guys, because we're going to win this race. So, here we go. Come on, final corners. Go, Janetta. The best car a man can get. Really nice vehicle. Highly recommend checking out if you haven't. Drive this car on this track. Really good one to race with friends online. But there you go. Hopefully this video has explained to you why it's just a game is a really stupid saying, and hopefully maybe people will see this and they'll stop saying the stupid thing. But you know, you can never be too hopeful. Well, for a start, only like 10 people will see this, and stupid people will always be stupid. It's just the way of the world. If you enjoyed this, guys, do indeed click the like button. Even more so, do indeed click the subscribe button. And I will see you in the next video that we do. I feel a little bit better after this. It's relaxing. Hopefully it relaxed you. I'll see you in the next video. Happy tea drinking. And goodbye, everybody.